There is a loneliness that arrives in rooms full of people who love you. You are not allowed to call it that. So you swallow it. You blame your own personality. And you carry it home without ever finding out what it actually was. The checkpoint will tell you something most viewers have spent years not saying out loud. There is a kind of loneliness that does not look like loneliness on the outside. It happens in full kitchens, in good marriages, at birthdays, at weddings, at family dinners that look fine in photographs. It is the loneliness of being in the room you are supposed to be in, with the people you are supposed to be with, and feeling further from yourself than you have all week. The world is willing to feel sorry for you when you live alone, when you are between relationships, when you have just moved cities, when the room is empty. The world is not willing to feel sorry for you when the room is full. So you stop saying it to your partner, to your mother, to your friends, to yourself. Because to say it out loud sounds like an accusation. I am lonely with you sounds to whoever is in the room like you are not enough, even when that is not what it means. The sentence stays in your head and it gets blamed on your own personality. You decide you are difficult or selfish or broken, or that something is wrong with how you are wired for connection. None of that is the inspection. The checkpoint will tell you what is. Now, pay attention to this. The loneliness in a full room is not a defect of love. It is a signal that some part of you is in the room with everyone else, but has not been seen, named, or held by anyone, including you. And that signal does not stop until it gets answered. By the end of this inspection, you will know how to answer it without abandoning the room or the people in it. The checkpoint will be honest with you about why this loneliness is the most hidden of all of them. Almost every other loneliness has a shape the world recognizes. An empty house, a breakup, a move, a grief. Those lonelinesses get casseroles, they get phone calls, they get, I'm here for you. The loneliness in a full room gets none of that. It does not have a shape the world is willing to feed. So you learn very early that this loneliness is the one you eat alone after the lights are out. The checkpoint will tell you the cost of having no language for this kind of loneliness. When a feeling has no permission to be named, it gets rerouted into self-blame. So instead of inspecting the signal, you put yourself on trial. What is wrong with me? Why can I not just be grateful? Why does even a good evening end like this? Years pass like that. The trial never ends. The verdict is always the problem is you. The checkpoint reverses the verdict. The problem is not you. The problem is that the signal arrived dressed in a coat the world refuses to look at. So you have been carrying it home for years, thinking the coat was your real personality. Most viewers grew up assuming love and being known were the same thing. The checkpoint will tell you they are not. Love is the willingness to keep showing up. Being known is the experience of someone walking around inside the parts of you you have stopped showing. You can be deeply loved by people who have never been inside the room you actually live in. They love the version of you that is easiest to love, the version that arrives at dinner, behaves well, asks about their week, makes the joke, holds the moment together. They are not lying. The love is real, but the love is for the part of you that is on stage, not the part that goes home after. When you go home to the part of you that goes home, the loneliness arrives. Not because you are unloved, because the version of you that is currently lonely was never the version of you everyone in the kitchen was loving. That is the gap. That is the inspection. The checkpoint sees this cargo cross the line every day. Viewers come carrying years of trying to fix the love. Better partners, closer friends, smaller circles, bigger circles, more honest texts. None of that closes the gap because the gap is not in the love. It is in whether anything inside you has been brought into the room as itself. Shape 1. The loneliness of being liked but not known. You are easy to like. Coworkers say so. Friends say so. The waiter remembers your face. And underneath all of that, you have not had a single conversation in weeks where you said this actual sentence in your chest. The checkpoint will tell you what this contract is. You learned somewhere very early that to be likable was the safest version of being known. So you became a person who is welcome everywhere and at home almost nowhere. The cost of this contract shows up at the end of the day. You have been around people for hours. You feel oddly emptier than you did this morning. That is not introversion. That is the bill that comes due when an entire day went past without anyone seeing the part of you that does not perform. The checkpoint does not say you have to be raw with everyone you meet. The checkpoint says being liked everywhere has a cost when nobody is being let near the part of you that does not have a smile already prepared for the room. Shape 2. The loneliness of being loved as a version of yourself you no longer are. Your family loves the you from before you started reading the books, from before the move, from before the job change, from before the divorce or the diagnosis or the hard year that finally rearranged you. They greet that older draft when you walk in, set the table for that draft, tell stories about that draft, hand you the part of yourself you have been quietly trying to outgrow. The checkpoint will tell you what this loneliness actually is. It is not that they have stopped loving you. It is that they are loving someone you have already partially become a stranger to. And you have learned to live as that stranger for the duration of the visit, so the room stays peaceful. By the time you leave, you have spent 4 hours being a draft of yourself you packed away years ago. So when the door closes behind you, the loneliness arrives with a precise shape. The checkpoint sees it daily. They love me. They do not know me. And I have been letting them love a version of me that does not exist anymore. So the room stays peaceful. The cost is not the visit. The cost is the slow erosion of the new self you are building. Every time it is asked to wait outside the room while the older draft does the talking. Shape 3. The loneliness of the table where everyone is talking, but no one catches the half second your real sentence begins. You are at dinner. People are talking. You start to say something real about a thought that has been sitting in your chest for weeks. and the conversation moves past it before you finish. So you swallow the rest of the sentence. You laugh at the next joke. You ask the next question. You become a host of other people's airtime. And the part of you that almost spoke goes back underground, slightly more buried than it was when you arrived. The checkpoint will tell you exactly what this loneliness is made of. It is not the absence of voices in the room. It is the absence of a single person, noticing the second your voice changed, the half second when you almost said the real thing, and asking you to finish. Most viewers leave that table assuming nobody asked because nobody cared. The checkpoint inspects this and stamps it differently. Often nobody asked because nobody was watching at the second the sentence began. The sentence was real. The room was just busy. Either way, you are now carrying back home something you were briefly close to putting down. That weight is what the rest of the night feels like. The checkpoint does not say to stop attending the table. The checkpoint says start noticing whose attention is actually capable of catching the half second your real sentence begins. There are not many. The ones who can are the ones you tell next time. Here is the real issue. Shape 4. The loneliness of being the one everyone forgets to ask. Your friends call you when something is hard. Your family calls you when something is hard. Your coworkers send you the message when something is hard. And then, by the time the call ends, no one has asked the same question back. The checkpoint will tell you what this contract is. It is the contract you signed in a room that needed your steadiness more than it had room for your weight. So you became the person whose composure made you safe to confide in and somehow ineligible to be confided in by. The cost of this contract is a particular flavor of loneliness no one will name for you. You are deeply involved in everyone's life. You know all the details. You hold the secrets. You are the first call. And there is no first call for you. Not because they do not love you, because they have learned to picture you as someone who does not need one. The checkpoint does not say to stop being the one who answers. The checkpoint says, the people in your life have a picture of you that does not include the parts of you that need asking after. Until you let one or two of them see those parts, no one will ever ask. Not because they do not love you, because they cannot ask after a part of you they have not seen. Shape 5. The loneliness that arrives the second the door closes after a good evening. The night went well, the dinner was warm. People hugged you on the way out. The car door slammed shut, the footsteps faded. And then, before you have even taken your coat off, a quiet, particular ache walks into the room. The checkpoint has inspected this cargo more times than viewers expect. The viewer thinks something is wrong with them for feeling lonelier after a full evening than they did before it. The viewer worries they are unfixable, that if even a good night cannot satisfy them, nothing can. The checkpoint will not let that conclusion pass. The loneliness after the door closes is not a sign that the night did not work. It is a sign that for several hours you had access to the version of life where someone else was tracking the room with you. and now you are alone with yourself again. And the contrast is louder than the silence is. That contrast does not mean you are broken. It means there is a part of you that has been quietly hungry for a long time, and the dinner gave it just enough food to remember what hungry feels like. The checkpoint does not say you should not feel the ache. The checkpoint says, name what was on the table tonight that you have been going without on most other nights. Until that question gets named, the silence after the door closes will keep arriving and keep being misread as defect. It is not defect. It is appetite finally remembered. So now you have seen the 5 shapes. The checkpoint will tell you what they all have in common, because most viewers will not see it on their own. Each one is the same gap in different clothes. The shape underneath all 5 is this. There is some part of you that is in the room with the people you love, and that part has not been named, asked after, or held by anyone for a long time, including you. The loneliness is the signal of that part still being in the room, still expecting to be picked up, still unattended. That is why love alone does not switch it off. Love is the willingness of the people in the room. Being seen is whether something inside you is currently being walked around in. 2 different jobs, 2 different rooms. The checkpoint will not let you keep blaming the love for not doing the seeing's job. I have sat at every one of these tables. I have left dinners carrying the sentence I almost said. I have stood in my own hallway after a good evening and felt the ache walk in before I had taken my coat off. For years, I assumed it meant something was wrong with me, that I did not know how to be in a room. The checkpoint did not let that conclusion pass, not even on himself. The loneliness was not a verdict on the rooms. It was a signal about a part of him that had not been made room for, including by him. There was a long stretch when the checkpoint was not yet the checkpoint. I learned every shape of this loneliness without learning what it was asking for. I assumed the signal was punishment. So I worked harder to be loved. I made myself easier to like in every room I walked into. None of that worked. The signal got louder, not quieter, the more it was drowned out by the performance. The checkpoint built this station because the signal will not stop until something inside you actually gets answered. You do not have to be alone for the answer to begin. You have to be willing to look at the part of you that has been waiting in the room. Here is the practice. It is small. It will feel strange the first time. The checkpoint is not going to tell you to find better friends. That is a different inspection. The checkpoint is going to ask you to do something far quieter and far more under your control. Pick the next moment you feel the loneliness arrive in a full room. Do not name the room. Do not name the people. Do not blame the love. Pick up a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and write one sentence at the top. The sentence is, the part of me in the room right now is the part that has been waiting for. Fill in the blank without editing. The first answer is usually the truest one. Most viewers expect something philosophical. The honest answer is usually a single, small, ordinary need. The part of me in the room right now is the part that has been waiting for someone to ask how the year actually went. The part of me in the room right now is the part that has been waiting to say, I am scared, and not have it dismissed. The part of me in the room right now is the part that has been waiting for someone to notice, I have changed. That is the inspection. The checkpoint is not asking you to fix anything yet. The checkpoint is asking you to give the part of you that has been hungry a name on paper, in your own handwriting, where you can see it. Most viewers find that the loneliness drops in volume the moment the part of them in the room finally has a sentence attached to it. Not gone, lower. The signal has been answered for the first time, even by you alone. Once a part of you has been named on paper, it becomes possible to ask one trusted person quietly, would you be willing to ask me about this sometime? That is how the loneliness in the full room finally starts to thin, not by replacing the room, by bringing the unseen part of you into it on purpose. If you do not yet have a place to do this attribution, give it somewhere quiet to land. Drift Inward is a journal that uses AI to read what you write and reflect the part of you that has been waiting back to you in your own words. So, the unseen part of you in the full room finally has somewhere to be heard. Sometimes the loneliness gets quieter. The moment the sentence about it lands somewhere, it can be read back to you, instead of staying inside a room that did not ask. That is the practice. The ruling, the loneliness that arrives when you are surrounded by the people who love you is not a verdict on the love. It is a signal that a part of you is in the room with them and has not been picked up by anyone, including you. You do not earn sympathy for this loneliness. The world will not pity a full house. So the inspection of it has to happen quietly, in your own handwriting, in your own ordinary night. The checkpoint does not wave through cargo that has been shamed into silence. Pick the part of you in the next full room. Name what it has been waiting for. Write it down where the daylight self can see it. That is how the loneliness no one earns sympathy for finally stops being a verdict on you and starts being a sentence you are allowed to finish. The checkpoint will be at the line when you bring it through.